Imagine sitting down to lunch for a plate of Italian sausage and spaghetti, and the man you're dining with tells you that you're wasting your time going to college because you don't have enough time left. Hey everyone, Ron Sanchez here from The Good Read, where I help others understand the complex simplicity of the Christian faith, what it means to be a follower of Jesus Christ, and how we can apply the teachings of Jesus to our everyday lives. Before we get started, if this is your first time watching, make sure you hit the subscribe button and check out any links that may be listed below for additional videos and resources that will help bring clarity to the often misunderstood and misrepresented truths of Christianity. It was May of 2015, and I decided that I needed to further my education as the senior pastor of a church I had planted 14 years earlier. So after a lot of thought and prayer, I enrolled in an online program with a very reputable Bible college to earn my master's in theology degree. I figured it would take me 5 years, and as long as I managed my time well, it was completely doable. I passed the first 2 classes with no problem and good grades to boot. And then the third class, church history, which included 2 volumes, that's 2 massive size books. Well, at the time I was spending the week at a church out of town. I was meeting with their leadership and gleaning ideas of how we could make our leadership more proficient. Well, the demands of dealing long distance that week with people problems at the church, back home, the mounting pressures of leading the church, coupled with reading 2 volumes of church history and the quizzes that came with it, pushed me to the edge. If I were to ever have a nervous breakdown, the setting would have been perfect for it to have happened during that trip. I literally pleaded with God for an answer as to whether or not I should continue with my studies. Remarkably, though I shouldn't have been surprised, God answered my cry. He always responds to anxious hearts. Well, on my last day there, I was having lunch with a renowned author on the subject of biblical leadership, who had been an elder at the church I was visiting for 40 years. After placing our lunch order, our conversation began with me bringing him up to speed on what was happening in my life and with the church. And in the process, I happened to mention my attending Bible college and my reasoning why. And that is when the conversation took a sudden and abrupt turn. "You can do whatever you want with what I'm going to tell you," he said. "I don't know you that well, but what on earth are you doing going to Bible college at your age? You don't have enough time left." I was 62 years old at the time. Well, needless to say, I was both shocked and relieved when I heard those words. I was shocked because nobody had ever spoken to me that way, so honestly, so bluntly, so matter-of-factly about my impending death. "You don't have enough time left," he said. At the same time, I was relieved because I knew that this providential moment was an answer to prayer, leading me without guilt to the decision to withdraw from Bible college. How easy it would have been to say or to think, "Who do you think you are to say such a thing to me?" But this wasn't some punk kid fresh out of Bible college, eager to conquer the world of ministry. This was a seasoned pastor with over 40 years experience, who had lived 70 years, one who clearly understood and embraced the reality that he himself did not have much time left. Having captured my undivided attention, he proceeded to tell me of a chapter in his own story. He was recovering from a recent minor stroke he had had, and he spoke of how he kept his plastic hospital bracelet on his desk as a reminder of how fragile life is. And then he got my full attention with a story of all things about a jar of marbles that sat in his office. He told me how a man gave him these two beautiful glass jars. One jar had 80 marbles in it, all different colors, which made it all the more attractive. And then he told me there were 10 marbles in one jar and 70 in the other. If the Lord allows me to live 80 years, he said, I'll put 10 more marbles in the empty jar and transfer one each year after that. Well, the image of a jar with only 10 marbles in it has never left my mind. I turned 68 this April. And if I live to be 80, that leaves me with only 12 marbles left. And the truth is, I'm losing my marbles. And I'm compelled to consider, what am I going to do with the ones I have left? And to take great caution using wisdom in how I spend my remaining years. I was recently having a conversation with a couple of young men in our church. And it dawned on me that when I was their age, 24 and 25, I didn't give a second thought to 20 years. But now, 20 years would make me 88. And there's a very good chance that that's not going to happen. The average lifespan of a male is 76 years old. In Peter's second letter, he writes something that is quite thought-provoking and sobering. He wrote this, "Do not forget this one thing, that with the Lord 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as 1 day." In light of that verse, consider this. If in God's economy 1,000 years is as 1 day to him, that would mean that in our economy, 1 year is the same as 365,000 years to God. Now stay with me here, because if that's the case, then that would mean in God's economy, 1 year for us would be 1.44 minutes. And if a person should live to be 80 years old, in God's economy, it's only 115.2 minutes, which is 5 minutes shy of 2 hours. In the letter of James, we read this, "Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to this city or that city, spend a year there, carry on business and make money. Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes." Time is the most precious commodity ever, and there is no guarantee as to how much we will have. And once it's spent, we can never get it back, ever. Wouldn't it be great if we went to an ATM, an automatic time machine, stuck in a card, and bam, there you have it, another year or two, or even more. But it doesn't work that way, does it? Paul, in his letter to the Christians in Ephesus, wrote this, "Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. Therefore do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is." How many marbles do you have left? And what are you doing with them? The truth is, we're all losing our marbles, and there's nothing at all that we can do about it. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the links below. And if you know someone who you think might benefit from this video, be sure to share it with them. Pass it along. And please let me know in the comments section what's on your mind. And if there are any other topics you might like to see me cover, I'd love to hear from you. That's why I'm here. Until next time, you can trust the Bible. It is God's Word, and it's a very good read. Why? Because it makes sense. Have an awesome day.